The morning sunlight hit the black suit like a bad omen as I stepped out my front door, ready to say goodbye to the man who raised me. But there it was, a gleaming white Lexus SUV parked dead center across my driveway, as if it had every right to be there. My blood ran cold. I knew exactly whose it was. Victoria Langford, the self-crowned vice president of Sunset Ridge HOA in our quiet Phoenix suburb, the woman who'd turned neighborly guidelines into her personal reign of terror ever since I moved back 6 months ago to care for Dad. She stood on her perfectly manicured lawn, the one with the forbidden green grass in our desert xeriscape community, of course, because rules were for little people. Arms crossed, that signature smug smirk plastered on her face. "Ethan," she called out in that nasal, know-it-all tone, "I've told you before about improper guest parking. Those cars from your visitors all week have been an eyesore." I stared at her, the grief mixing with rising fury. "Victoria, you're literally blocking my entire driveway. We have a funeral procession leaving in 20 minutes. My father just passed." "Oh, my condolences," she replied, the words as dry as the Arizona air. "But the bylaws are crystal clear, Section 4.2. No street parking during weekday business hours, and certainly not disrupting the visual harmony. I've been sending notices. This is for the good of the community." "The community?" I shot back, my voice low but sharp. "Or your little power trip? You're the one illegally obstructing private property right now. Move your damn car." She waved her clipboard like a holy text. "It's HOA business, Ethan. Noncompliance has consequences. Maybe this will teach everyone to follow the rules." And with that, she turned on her heel and strolled back to her porch, leaving her Lexus like a middle finger to my grief. I didn't have time for this circus. With relatives in black filing out, I called the tow company, but they were delayed. Desperate, I had no choice. I drove my truck straight over the side lawn, tires chewing up the sod, just to get out and make it to the cemetery on time. Cousins directed traffic like it was a bad action movie. My aunt nearly twisted her ankle in the ruts. We made it, barely. But the day was already poisoned. When I returned that evening, drained and hollow, a bright orange violation notice was slapped on my door. $2, $8.50 for unauthorized landscape alteration and emergency enforcement fee. I read it twice, the paper crumpling in my fist. Victoria had just poked the wrong grieving bear. The next day, fueled by something sharper than coffee, I hit the Maricopa County Records office. Grief could wait, cold, calculated payback couldn't. I requested every document on Sunset Ridge HOA. Incorporation papers, board minutes, election certifications. The clerk raised an eyebrow when I mentioned a potential lawsuit. Flipping through the files back home, jackpot. Arizona law requires annual HOA board elections with proper notice and certification. Sunset Ridge hadn't filed anything legitimate in 3 years. Victoria Langford wasn't vice president of Jack. She was a glorified busybody playing dress-up with authority that didn't exist. I dug deeper, old newsletters boasting enforcement actions, emails threatening liens. No election records anywhere. I called the State Department of Housing. The officer's tone changed fast. Enforcing fines without a valid board? That's not just invalid, it borders on fraud if money changed hands. Enter my old college buddy Rachel Kim, a pit bull of a civil rights attorney who'd crushed corrupt HOAs before. I sent her the driveway security cam footage timestamped to the minute, the bogus fine, and the election bombshell. Her reply was instant. "Ethan, this is dynamite. We're not just fighting a parking ticket. We're blowing up their whole operation." She was right. Over the next week, I canvassed the neighborhood with a simple question. "Has Vicky ever hit you with a fine that felt personal?" The floodgates opened. The retired couple next block overfined $4,000 for a non-approved wheelchair ramp that didn't match the desert aesthetic. The single mom down the street threatened with foreclosure over her kid's basketball hoop. An old veteran chewed out for flying his American flag past sunset. Everyone had a story of Vicky's clipboard tyranny, all justified as protecting property values. 17 families joined our suit. Rachel filed Beltran versus Sunset Ridge HOA the following Monday. We served Victoria right in the middle of her monthly compliance meeting at the clubhouse. She was mid-lecture on appropriate holiday lighting duration to a terrified homeowner when Rachel strode in with the process server. "What's this nonsense?" Vicky snapped, snatching the papers. "A class action lawsuit," Rachel said coolly, "for fraudulent enforcement by an illegitimate board, emotional distress, and civil rights violations." Oh, and the court just issued a cease and desist on all your so-called fines, until legitimacy is proven. Spoiler, it won't be. The room went dead silent. Vicky's face turned the color of cheap Chardonnay. I represent the homeowners. This is harassment. No, ma'am, Rachel countered with ice in her voice. You represent yourself as having authority you never legally earned. That's called impersonating an official. Check your own bylaws, the ones you love quoting. Word spread like wildfire. A residents' accountability group exploded on social media. The county launched a full audit. They uncovered $42,000 in fines funneled into a shady account Vicky and her treasurer buddy controlled. Fake vendor invoices for landscaping services from a company that didn't exist. Wire transfers to personal accounts. In court, it was glorious. The judge, a no BS desert native, watched the security footage of Vicky's Lexus blocking me on funeral day. Let me get this straight, Mrs. Langford. You obstructed a grieving son from attending his father's burial to enforce parking rules from a board that hasn't been properly elected since Obama was president. I was upholding standards, she sputtered. For everyone's benefit. The judge held up the fine notice. And then you fined him thousands for damaging his own lawn to escape your illegal blockade? This isn't enforcement, counselor. This is extortion wrapped in suburban snobbery. The gavel came down hard. The HOA was dissolved. Victoria and her accomplice faced criminal charges, fraud, misappropriation, falsifying documents. The civil judgment? $62,000 in damages, most coming straight to me and the other victims. The last time I saw her, she was watching county workers remove the ugly enforcement zone signs she'd erected everywhere. She looked smaller, deflated, her clipboard nowhere in sight. Months later, the new legitimately elected board, real neighbors, not tyrants, held open meetings under the community pavilion. Rules were simplified, fines required due process and actual votes. People talked again. Kids played. The neighborhood breathed. Victoria sent me a letter eventually. I regret the driveway incident. It wasn't personal. I filed it away with the old fake bylaws. But the real punchline? The feds got involved after more shady money trails surfaced. Last I heard, she's facing real time. Turns out when you build your kingdom on other people's fear and fake rules, the house always collapses. Now the driveway is clear every morning. Dad's old truck sits there peacefully, and Sunset Ridge finally feels like home, not a police state with palm trees. True or false? Victoria Langford was just a passionate community volunteer trying to maintain order, or did she get exactly the karmic reckoning she deserved for turning neighborly rules into a weapon of personal control? Who really abused power here?